Beautiful building, isn't it? You know, I love these old church buildings. The ancient architecture, the stained glass windows, the candles burning inside. There's almost something mystical, almost supernatural and peaceful about these old church buildings. You know, it reminds us that for thousands of years, in fact, probably since the beginning of time, people have been religious beings. People have worshipped all sorts of things, from the sun, moon, and stars to plants and animals and idols. People have built shrines and temples. And then more recently, in the last 2,000 years, people have started building churches and going to church to worship. And what do most people think of when they think of being a Christian? They think of this, don't they? They think of going to church, church buildings, religious rituals, church services, or maybe just being a good person and living a moral life, living by a set of standards. But is that it? Is that what Christianity really is about at the core? Just getting a bit more religion in your life, just going to church a few more times, trying to be a good person? Well, the amazing thing is that the Bible actually has a surprisingly different answer. See, most of us think that to be a Christian is just to be a bit more religious, to be a better person, maybe try to do a few more good things in our lives. But is that the real answer to the deepest spiritual problems in our life, the problem of sin and separation from God? Well, the Bible tells us it's something quite different. Well, what's the problem with religion then? Why isn't going to church or trying to be good, why isn't that the ultimate answer to our spiritual problem of sin and separation from God? Well, last week we discovered that our ultimate problem is spiritual, that we are sinners by nature and by choice, and that we've offended God and we're separated from Him because of that. And here's where most of us go wrong. We think that by just getting a little bit of extra religion in our lives that we can make up for it. That just by going to church a few extra times, trying a little bit harder, trying to be good, that we can make up for all the wrong things that we've done in our lives, and we can somehow get back into God's good books. And you know, so many people live their lives like that. They think that, well, I'll just go to church a few more times this year and I'll try and impress God. You know, I know people who have told me that they go to confession, confess their sins, confess the wrong things that they've done, and they go out and do it all again the next week so that they can go back to confession and confess and then go do it again and back to confession. And it's a vicious cycle. Surely that's not what God had in mind. Well, what's the problem with religion? Well, the first problem is this, that religion depends on our own efforts. You know, it's like December 31st, January 1st comes around every year, and, you know, for most of us, we try and make some kind of New Year's resolution. So we want to lose weight, or we want to diet, or exercise more, or go to the gym. And that's a great thing. And it's a good thing to try and be a better person. The problem is, for most of us, if we were really honest, we'd have to admit that our New Year's resolutions probably don't last hardly a day or a week, let alone a year or a lifetime. See, we just can't seem to measure up to our own standards, let alone God's standards. We always seem to fall short. And the thing is that God's standards are so much higher than ours. If we can't even measure up to our standards and keep our New Year's resolutions, how can we possibly measure up to God's perfect and holy standards? You know, it's like giving a basketball to a 2-year-old and saying, okay, I want you to slam dunk the hoop. Now that's just ridiculous. That's impossible, because the 2-year-old is too short, too weak. He doesn't have the strength or the height to be able to jump up and slam that hoop. Or asking him to throw a 3-point shot from the 3-point line. There's no way. I couldn't even do that when I was in junior high school, let alone when I was a little kid. I just didn't have the energy to be able to shoot a 3-pointer. And you know, it's a little bit like that with us in our relationship with God. We just try and try on our own strength to be a better person, to measure up to God's standards, to live a better life, a more moral life. But we always fail, don't we? Well, I know I do. I know that by my own strength, I can never measure up to God's standards perfectly. And that's what the Bible says, that we all fall short. We all try, but we all fall short because we are not strong enough by ourselves to measure up to a holy God. And that's the problem. We need something more than just our own efforts. The second problem with religion is that religion can never remove our sin. You know, it doesn't matter how many new pages you turn over or try to turn over in your life. It can't actually remove the old pages, can't actually erase the wrong things that we've done in our life in the past. And you know, most of us think we can try and balance it out, that maybe if I just do a few extra good things this week to balance out the bad things that I've done, then I'll be okay with God. But you know, the Bible says it doesn't really work that way. See, what we need is a solution to the problem of sin, not just a Band-Aid that will cover up our sin so that we look good on the outside. You know, it's kind of like painting an old house. You can slap a new coat of paint on old, rotten wood, and it'll look good for a while. On the outside, it looks great. People think, wow, what a beautiful house. But on the inside, it won't be long until it rots away and it falls apart. And it's a little bit like that sometimes with our religious efforts. We think we can just try and look good on the outside, just go to church and try and impress people with who we are on the outside. But the problem is on the inside. On the inside, things are not as they should be, and things are certainly not as they should be before God. But most people think that that's the answer. Religion can make us look good on the outside, but it can't make us good on the inside. You know, Jesus said an interesting thing, something similar he said to the religious leaders of his day. He said that, hey, you guys look great on the outside. It's like you look painted and well presented on the outside, but the problem is on the inside you're rotten and you're dirty and you're unclean in your heart. And Jesus said that that's where the real problem lies, the sinfulness of the heart and the mind, that it's on the inside that the things that make us unclean, hatred towards other people, jealousy, envy, lust, lying, all of those kind of things come from the heart, and that's what makes us unclean before God. And religion, no matter how good we look on the outside, it can never remove the sin that's on the inside. That's the second problem with religion. And that's the third problem with religion, that religion can never actually change our sinful nature. You know, religion can make us look good on the outside and even make us feel good or feel better on the inside for what we've done, but it can't actually make us good. It doesn't matter how many times you go to church or how many good things you try to do. It can never truly change your heart. And what we need is something that can radically change our heart, change us from the inside out and make us a new person. So the bad news about religion is that religion by itself isn't the answer. But next week we're going to learn that God has provided a solution, and that is truly good news.